Hi everyone, Susan Storm here from Psychology Junkie, and today I want to talk about the differences between the ISTJ and the ISTP personality types. A lot of people feel confused about which type is best for them. So let's jump right into it. So at first glance, one of the biggest things you'll notice is that ISTJs are judging types and ISTPs are perceiving types. Well, what does that mean? A lot of people get confused about the JP preference at the end of your type code. So ISTJs are judgers. Judgers like to have a plan, a structure, and a process that they follow. They like their outer world organized and planned and fairly predictable. They like to know what's going to happen and to have a course set for exactly how they want to live their life. And so this gives ISTJs a very regimented, structured approach and an appearance. ISTPs, on the other hand, are perceiving types. Perceiving types like a more open-ended, casual approach to life. They're more okay with spontaneity. They don't like being roped into a lot of structures and routines. And if life gets too predictable, it can actually be really depressing for ISTPs. Both types can have moments where they're more casual or more structured, but for the most part, ISTJs are going to be comfortable in a life that is more predictable, more regimented, more structured, whereas ISTPs are going to be more comfortable in a world that is more casual, flexible, and open for spontaneity. Next, let's talk about how ISTJs and ISTPs use thinking differently. Both types like to be logical, they both are very pragmatic, they're both realistic. ISTJs, however, like to learn for the sake of doing. They learn so that they can organize their outer world in a more logical, objective way. They look for empirical evidence for things. They look to learn so that they can optimize and streamline all the processes around them to make it more efficient. So what they learn usually has a real-world practical application in the moment. ISTPs also really like efficiency, but ISTPs are more likely to learn for the sake of learning. It's not as much about learning so that they can organize the world around them. They are more likely to learn so that they can organize the world inside their own mind, so that they can refine their thinking and make it as precise as possible. A lot of ISTPs describe the way their minds work as having lots of filing cabinets, and then you look inside the filing cabinet and find information about a specific category, and then there's subcategories and subcategories beyond that, and subcategories beyond that. The more precise and refined they can get with their data, the better. So they're always refining their thought process and trying to make them as clear as possible. So learning for the sake of learning is really important to ISTPs. Now let's talk about traditionalism. So ISTJs have a reputation for being traditionalists, and this is because they're constantly comparing and contrasting what they know with what they're experiencing in the present moment, and they're constantly trying to figure out what they can trust, what's repeatable, what's predictable, and to apply the age-old lessons that they've received throughout their life. So ISTJs tend to have special traditions, special routines that they follow again and again and again. Whereas ISTPs are experiencers. They're more about being open to the moment and the opportunities that may arise at any given time. They don't tend to hold on to those traditions as much as ISTJs are likely to. They are more apt to wing it and be happy with that, whereas ISTJs hate the idea of winging it. ISTJs need to take change slowly, whereas ISTPs are more adaptable to change quickly. Now, ISTJs can adapt, but they just need a slower time to acclimate to that. Then ISTJs are preparer types. They are charting the course. They're always planning, preparing, organizing, envisioning how things are going to play out and trying to prepare the perfect plan so that life goes as smoothly as possible. Surprises of any kind are anathema to ISTJs. Just try not to subject them to surprises. ISTPs, again, are more happy with winging it and with being spontaneous. Next, let's talk about feelings. ISTJs are more in touch with their inner feeling states than ISTPs are. They actually can get very stubborn about what they believe is right or wrong, and they have a pretty strong stance on their values and morals. ISTPs also have morals and values, but they are more interested in just what makes sense logically to them. Their own sense of logic is very personal, and that is their guiding light. So ISTPs are a little more out of touch with their emotions, and a little more out of touch with their personal values, but they're very in touch with their personal principles, what they've decided makes sense for them to follow in a logical way. ISTPs, if you ask them how they feel, are often going to get kind of confused and need more time to process that. And conversations about feelings can be really, really stressful for them. If you ask an ISTJ how they feel, they are going to also be slower than like a feeling type would be, but they usually have a sense of how they feel and know how they feel. They don't always feel like sharing it, though. An ISTP, it's not so much that they don't want to share it, it's that world of emotions tends to be hazier for them and harder to access. And so it can be stressful for them to talk about their feelings because it all seems very cloudy and out of reach. Whereas ISTJs often know how they feel about things, but they don't always feel like sharing them because that feels very vulnerable to them. ISTJs also tend to be very stubborn about their values and their ideas of right and wrong, whereas ISTPs tend to have a more casual live and let live approach to life. Last, let's talk about stress. So when ISTJs are stressed, they tend to fall into the grip of their inferior function, which is called extroverted intuition. Now, if you're new to type and you don't know what I'm talking about there, that's okay. But I will explain to you what this looks like. ISTJs are normally very practical people. They trust what they know, they follow a routine, they're very realistic and objective. When ISTJs get extremely stressed, they actually flip to a different side of their personality, and they can become catastrophizers and start imagining all these terrible doom and gloom possibilities of things that could go wrong. And so they start trying to prepare contingency plans for all the things that could go wrong. But the more they do it, their mind multiplies these negative possibilities, and the more finding solutions seems completely impossible because these negative possibilities are just multiplying and feeling completely overwhelming to them. ISTPs, when they're extremely stressed, fall into the grip of extroverted feeling. So what this looks like is ISTPs are usually very realistic, objective, practical, down-to-earth people. They're not the types of people to get carried away with their feelings or overinterpret what anyone says. But when ISTPs are extremely stressed out, they can suddenly feel that they are out of touch with people, that maybe nobody likes them. They become more emotional than usual. They feel inside more needy than usual, and it's very frustrating for them because they like to think of themselves as very cool-headed, independent, autonomous individuals. But when they are in the grip of stress, they can feel like they really want affirmation that they matter to people. They can feel like their emotions are getting out of control and overwhelming them. They can feel more insecure about themselves and where they stand with people. So these are two very big differences between how the two types experience and respond to stress. I hope this has been helpful. You can find out a lot more about this on my website. I have an article specifically about this subject. My website is psychologyjunkie.com, so I will meet you there. And stay tuned, like, and subscribe for more videos. Thanks, everyone.